What is a human trafficking survivor? That word survivor is thrown around a lot, and especially lately. Let me just explain to you what a survivor is and what the face of a survivor is truly like. A survivor is a person who has been coerced, forced into sex trade, labor, forced servitude. That means, working in somebody's house, uh, treated like a slave. And I'll use the word slave because in the United States today, in 2023, we have more slaves than any other time in history. So let's get the words right and let's start using them. The face of a survivor is not what you usually see in the media. Most of the victims, and I'm going to use the word victim because they are victimized. They have grown up as a child, for instance. Let me give you an example: familial trafficking, polyvictimization. Do you know what that means, warriors? That has been everything from women, girls, boys and men too will say, it's the family business. A grandmother being sold by her mother, then the grandmother, when she has a child, go down the chain, the mom, then sold, then that daughter sold, or boy, and to pay for drugs, to pay rent. It's just the way of life. That's how they make money. That's how they get by. And I've heard the phrase a lot. And from survivors directly to me, family business. And especially during the past few years, during this pandemic, when people were, locked in and really couldn't make any money, it exploded on the scene. So we have to really talk about facts and hard facts. And I know none of you like to talk about any of this. I don't like to talk about any of this, but we have to because we are we're in an American crisis. This normalization of the sexualization of our children. The face of a survivor, they don't want to, for the most part, come forward. They don't want to. First of all, they didn't even realize what happened to them as a child. They didn't understand that this was exploitation, trafficking. Many of the survivors I know now and work with, they find out later in life what it is. They don't come forward out of embarrassment. They don't come forward they don't want to involve any family members. They don't come forward because they are afraid of those people who may still be out there. They don't come forward because they'd rather bury it, right? Usually people, when something horrible happens, that is human nature. You don't talk about it. You bury it. But think about what that does to a person, to their insides, to their mind psychologically. And something else we need to talk about is medically what happens to people when they are sold and forced into sex over and over again to their bodies, all the medical complications. Because again, working with survivors, they tell me this all the time. Many women I know right now, older women, my age, a little younger, whatever, a little older, countless operations, countless procedures, countless things with their joints, their backs, their feet. A true survivor does not want to be put into a dog and pony show, does not want to be looked at, because that's re-victimization, that's re-traumatization, because an audience is thinking whatever they're thinking about. And sometimes men will look at these women, and I've seen this, almost, out of curiosity, and they're thinking, oh, I wonder what. Now, I'm not a mind reader, but I'm pretty good on reading studies, reading facial expressions, gestures, how somebody acts in front of a survivor. And the true face of a survivor, these are not glammed up men and women who've come forward, because there truly are a very brave group of men and women that want to help other people. They don't want anybody else going through what they went through. It is their passion, it is their soul, it is their mission. And they are brave enough to speak up and share their experience, share this horrible story, so that others realize what this is really about. This is not just, oh, great, we saved somebody, we rescued somebody. This is a lifelong victimization, trauma. And I should rephrase that a little bit, because the survivors we know and work with don't want to be called victims. They truly are, in the sense of the law. Child cannot consent. An adult, woman, even if you're over 18, that's still a child, even though technically you're considered an adult, cannot consent to rape and victimization. But let's stick with the survivor, the face of the survivor. So let's be very clear about something. For instance, the Warriors works with our great partner, Tammy Tony Butler. She's a SANE nurse, sexual assault nurse examiner. She is a survivor herself of childhood victimization, crimes against her as a little girl, as a teenager. She bravely speaks out and shares her knowledge because she wants people to know what this is truly about. And then she was brave and strong enough to become a sexual assault nurse examiner to help others. So we have to understand, the Warriors in particular, I'm very careful. Many organizations will use a survivor. Got to look at it a lot of different ways. I don't know. I can't really speak for other people. As almost, again, I go back to that dog and pony show. Warriors is very careful not to put people on display, not to talk about our work behind the scenes with helping survivors. And when I say helping, you don't know what goes on. They can't afford a meal, can't afford diapers, period products, underwear. So there's a lot going on, but I want to be very clear about this word that I also think people are becoming, jumping on the bandwagon, thinking, I guess it's like anything else. When something becomes, more in the news, maybe it's since that whole Jeffrey Epstein thing hit the landscape. I want to be very careful about survivors. I want people to understand. Most people stay in the dark, stay in the background, don't want. It's not about them. It's not about their egos. It's not about, I want to be a star. But that being said, and I guess like any other business, there are those that step out into the limelight, glam it up. I don't know. I just want everybody to know the true survivors that we work with, that we know, are very humble men and women that want to make it better for other people, that are very brave. See, my voice actually cracks a little bit because they've endured untold pain and circumstances that you and me will probably never, ever encounter, and we can't even imagine. So I want everybody to be very careful about that word survivor, to understand this is not a business. This is about helping other human beings. This is about human dignity. This is about protecting, intervening for our children so they don't have to endure any of this. So remember, be careful. Anything you share online, be careful. Don't believe everything you read. Well, unless the Warriors wrote it, unless I wrote it. And stay aware of what's happening. I remind all of you to please sign up for our newsletter. It goes out every Wednesday, our weekly Warriors newsletter. That is, you'll find it at lynswarriors.org. Scroll down on the right side, it says e-newsletter. How easy is that? Sign up, because I put some information in there you will not hear anywhere else in any of the mainstream media. And a lot of places online, you won't hear it either. So we want to come together. The only way I feel we're going to make a difference, community creates change. We have to truly talk about the facts, what's happening. We have to talk to the kids. age appropriate. But when I know the new studies are saying that by the age of 9, most kids have seen hardcore porn. Now think about that. Those little brains seeing images they can't possibly understand what's going on. I'll leave that for another video. Understand, we are to love the survivors, protect the survivors, encourage the survivors. We come from a place of always listen to the survivor. It's their lived experience. Learn from that, take away from that to make things better. Not just a lot of talk, not just a lot of nonsense. It's about protecting people, helping people, and keep that in mind. And always remember, be a warrior.